As I say, I'm Richard. This is the Monday Mindset. Please get involved and join in the discussion. We're talking about well-being. How do you maintain your mental well-being in your day-to-day teaching life? So without further ado, I'm going to introduce my special guest, Phil Longwell, who is a member of this group and an active researcher and campaigner for better mental health in EFL. Good morning, Phil.
Good morning, Richard. Thank you for having me. Pleasure.
Thank you very much for joining us. I know you're a busy man this morning, so really appreciate that. So Phil, for members watching who don't know you, could you please just give us a brief snapshot of your background in EFL or what you're up to at the moment?
Yeah, I'm currently teaching on a pre-sessional course in Sheffield. It's my 5th pre-sessional course. I've been an English language teacher since 2006, and I've worked in various places: South Korea, China, Vietnam, Saudi Arabia, young learner activity programs in the UK, and I've now kind of branched into EAP more and are looking to do more EAP work in the future. So yeah, that's generally me.
Okay, all right. Well, a nice, colourful experience there. And so, for those just joining, good morning. Welcome to the show. I'm here with Phil, and we're talking today about well-being in EFL, and it's a subject close to my heart. But Phil, could you just tell us why this is why mental health in EFL is now something that you're looking at?
Well, just in the sense that everyone has a story in them if they wanted to write a book. I mean, I feel that the mental health thing is my thing. As I say, I've been in English language teaching for about 14 years now, on and off. I've never been in regular work. I've had a lot of problems myself with anxiety and depression, or sometimes both together, which has meant that on numerous occasions, I have either left a job early or not completed a contract because I've had poor mental health or adverse mental health affect me. And when it came to my own research, I did personalize it because I sort of went into it saying, well, I've got this experience myself. And I also wanted to find out what the experience was for other English language teachers, not just in the UK, but around the world. And that's why I did my original research in 2017, which got around 500 responses from different educators, mostly teachers, but also managers, line managers and freelancers as well. And I presented that research at an IATEFL conference in Brighton in 2018. And I then followed up that research more recently. So just the end of last year, I did something similar thing, but a sort of follow-on thing where I looked at COVID and the pandemic and whether that had impacted on our mental health and well-being as well. And that was the second piece of research I did.
Okay, well, we're going to be talking about the findings and what the outcomes of that study and those studies are. And can I just ask, so nobody asked you to do this? Nobody commissioned this research? Is it just something that you felt that you had to do?
Yeah, it was just something I was passionate about. I had a blog. I have had a blog for many years, and I don't know. I can't remember the exact moment I thought about this, but I know that I'd never presented anything at any conference. I'd never publicly spoken about any topic, and I could have spoken about pedagogy or how learners learn English or all these kinds of things, but I left that to other people and all the theories and methodologies. But I did feel that I had something to say in terms of this issue. And I felt that it was possibly an under-discussed topic within our profession, but I think there are reasons why there are adverse mental health problems in our profession over and above general education and people that say have a regular full-time permanent job, because we as language teachers often travel to different places. We're often away from family for long periods. We're often given fixed term contracts. We don't have enough job security in our profession a lot of the time. Great if you have, but I for one have never had job security in this profession, which means I'm constantly looking for the next thing, and that itself doesn't help.
I can definitely relate to that, and I'm sure members of the group can relate to that. Please drop any comments, guys, if if anything that Phil is saying resonates with you. Do you have that similar experience? What do you think are the barriers to mental health for us in EFL? A lot of what you say there, Phil, I think I can relate to it. The EFL profession, although not necessarily glamorous, attracts a certain type of an adventurous type. The wanderlust, the itchy feet, the opportunity to explore the world, and generally, even though we all have our insecurities and our whatevers, we are kind of, whether we're introverts or not, we have this kind of desire to be with people and to kind of serve and to make a difference. And do you think that in your findings has that been shown to be perhaps detrimental?
It is, I agree. It's a giving profession, and a lot of people get into this and stay in this profession because it is very rewarding. It can be seeing your students learn, seeing your students grow. But on the other side, on the flip side, as well as the excitement of the travel and the adventures and all that comes with it. I mean, I always talk about my TEFL days as the time or that period when I did traveling, and it was almost just about the traveling, the adventure and the experience as much as it was about the teaching, and the teaching side and the pedagogy side came later. But in answer to the question that's on the screen about a biggest barrier, I think the flip side of this chopping and changing and going to different places and being away from home, the biggest barrier I think is just not always settling down in one place. And how do we settle down? What enables us to settle down in one place or city or country is job security, is having the security of knowing where our next wage is coming from or next salary. And that's one of the biggest barriers is job security and pay. A lot of people in this profession take relatively low incomes to do what they do. Certainly in certain parts of the country, certain parts of the world where you're kind of the rewards are not just financial, they're often other kinds of rewards. And I think if you are employed, having a good, decent employer is fundamental to our mental health and well-being. And part of that is not just what they do in terms of looking after you and thinking about your workload, it's also about what they pay you. So job security and pay and working conditions are a major factor at play here. And that's what I've discovered in my research. A lot of people anonymously comment about that. They don't name institutions or who they work for, but they say it would be a lot better if I had a fixed contract or a permanent position or a guarantee of income, all these kinds of things, and the thing with COVID as well, the thing with the pandemic over the last year, that has exaggerated this sort of insecurity because a lot of language schools have closed. They've ceased trading because they just haven't had the numbers, they haven't had the people come through their doors.
It's certainly, it's taking a normally kind of precarious, often precarious situation, and as you say, multiplying it really due to the COVID, and we're not all equipped with the same coping strategies. What's your research shown in terms of and how do people cope? What different strategies do people apply? And perhaps you could tell us about your own strategies as well, if it's okay.
I'm happy to talk about it. I have written about this and I have asked other people what their coping mechanisms are. I think there's two rough areas here. I think there are coping mechanisms, which are how to get through the day and how to get through the week. And sometimes those choices are not necessarily the most healthy choices. So they could be drinking, smoking, other unhealthy choices to lifestyle that get us through. And there's a lot of people in our profession who are stressed and who get through one way or another. And they don't always choose the most healthy options. I myself have at various times done things like mindfulness, Qigong, Tai Chi Qigong as well has helped me. A lot of people do yoga and meditation. I know, I don't personally, but I know that looking after the physical side has a real impact on the mental. The two things are interlinked. You can't just have if you have a poor physical self, then your mental self is not going to be good either. And both the positive mental well-being can also impact on the physical as well. And I think those teachers that cope the best have got strategies in place which say that, okay, I'm only going to be at my desk from such a time till such a time, and I make sure that I have time away from the computer at the moment, because it's all been online a lot of the time, and especially over the last year with the pandemic and our working situations there. So always having time away from what you do. Times when you just turn notifications off, times when you're haven't got your phone with you, just times away, and looking after the physical, eating well, drinking appropriately. These kinds of things do impact upon you, but also getting support from others. You can't just do this alone sometimes. You need to have the company of others. And with the pandemic particularly, we felt somewhat disconnected with others because we haven't got that we've got a physical separation. And that has really impacted. And my second piece of research certainly found that lockdowns, and we've all experienced some kind of lockdowns. You're in Spain, that had a huge lockdown, Italy too, England as well. We're just coming out of our third major lockdown. And this has really impacted on our mental health aside from our teaching. So as human beings, we've been affected by this pandemic and the restrictions on our working lives. So coping, well, it's kind of up to the individual to a large extent, but I also do look to an employer, a supportive employer, to support and be understanding. And let's just say some places are better than others in terms of understanding the situation that we've all been in.